Hi everyone. So till now we have completed the MCSC half portion. Like till now we have completed a system administration part. Till now we have seen what is networking, types of network. We discuss operating system, what is domain, what is Active Directory, how to create domain in domain, how to create the DC, how to create the clients by using Active Directory, how to manage the users, user profiles, how to create the tree structure, how to create the forest, how to create the trust between two different paths. So till now we are stick with Active Directory. We have done MCSC first portion that is called system admin. Now today we are starting our next portion that is called network administration class. So in 2012 server operating system, not only Active Directory is one service, the Microsoft has given so many services in server OS. Till now we are stick with Active Directory, but apart from Active Directory, there are so many services out there. So today we are starting, like we have DHCP, we have DNS, we have web service that is called IAS also, right? And we have Hyper-V service, we have WDS service, etc. There are so many out there. So from today onwards, to take one service, one topic in depth, we are going to discuss these services here. Okay. So today we're starting network administration classes, and today first topic we are discussing DHCP. Okay. Now what is DHCP stands? DHCP stands Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. Protocol means set of rules. Configuration means something we are configuring on our computers, right? Something we are assigning. Host means computers. Our computers technically is called host. Host 1, host 2, host 3. If you open any networking book, IT book here, so it's written host 1, host 2, host 3. So it's called computer 1, computer 3. And dynamic means automatic. Dynamic means what here? Automatic here. So automatically on our computers, we want to configure something. Okay. So previously, this service in NT operating system, this service is called boot P service, boot process service. But from 2000, this service name has changed to DHCP. In 2000, 2003, 2008, and 2012, this service is called DHCP, Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. Now, what is the use of this service? By the help of this service, we can do centralized management on IP address. If you want to do centralized management on IP, we require DHCP service. Now, what is IP stands? Already we know IP stands Internet Protocol, and IP is used for to give the address to a computer. And if you want to establish communication between the computers, to each and every computer, to each and every host machine, we require IP address. So we'll take one example right now. I'm working on domain model to do easy and centralized management. So in domain, we are making the system one as a server, domain controller. And to make domain, we require one machine. We require operating system, server OS in this machine. And next, this machine should be connected to network. And in this machine, we require IP. And as the administrator, I can go to this computer. I can assign the IP address. And as admin, whenever I'm assigning the IP address manually to each and every computer, so that IP is called static IP address. It's called a static. Static is manually. So as admin, I'm going to this machine, I'm giving the IP. So example, I'm giving here class A 10.network. So I'm giving 10.0.0.1. And the preferred DNS address should be seen here, 10.0.1, right? Given. Now like this, in my network, I'm not running only one server. We have number of machine as a client. So example, I have two more machine as a clients here. So in our network, example, a system 3 is a client, and we have a system 4 is a client. Okay. Now to join this machine to domain to make clients, first in this machine we require operating system, and next we require IP address. So as admin, I can go to this machine, I can assign the IP. So to next machine, I'm giving the IP address. And when you're giving the IP address to your network computers and you want direct communication between all machines, you have to follow the rule. Network portion should be same and host portion should be unique. So on this next machine, I'm giving the IP 10.0.0.3. On next machine, 10.0.0.4. And we need preferred DNS address. We are giving the preferred DNS address is our server IP 10.0.1. And you can join this machine to domain, and by using this IP, the user can log into this PC, and by using this IP, we can communicate with other computers. We can transfer the data. So this is called static IP. But static IPs are fixed IP address. Over the period of time, these IPs are not going to change. Right? I've given the IP to this machine. 10.3, 10.4. So now tell me, next day, or next week, or next month, this machine IP will change? No. As administrator, whenever we are changing, then only this IP will change, otherwise this IP will not change on this computer. So as admin, whenever we are assigning the IP address to a computer, is called static. Static is manual, and over the period of time, it's not going to change. So example, I have given the IP to system 3, 10.3, next machine 10.4. So next day or next week, next month, this IP will change now. As admin, as administrator, whenever we are changing this machine IP, so this IP is going to change. So this is called a static manual IP address. Now, example, you have a small network, medium network, then you can take the help of static IP, you can assign the IP, you can establish a communication. But estimate after some time your network has expanded and you have nearly this many computers, example. So you have 1500 computers in your network. And all this 1500 machine is not in the one floor, is not in one building, right? So this is a very big campus network and you are the admin. And you have a job is what? You have to make 1500 machine as a client. So first, all the 1500 machines should be connected to each other. And next job is what? As admin, I have to go to every machine, I have to assign the IP. Now, assigning IP address is not a big job, less than 1 minute. I can assign the IP address to one computer. But when the network is small, if you have 10 or 50 or 100 machines here, right? But if you have more than 50 machines, like 100 or 200 or 1500, now assigning IP is an easy job? No, right? Because I have to visit as admin, I have to visit to every building, every floor, every machine, I have to assign the IP. So example, in this building, in this floor, I have nearly 10 machines. So I have to go to this floor, I have to assign the IP address. Example, my company is saying 10.classic. So I have to start the IP from 10.0.1, then 10.2, 10.3, like up to 10.10. Now go to next building, next floor. We have 20 machines. Start the IP from 1 or from 11, 10.11, from 10.11, because we don't want any IP config problem. So to each and every machine, we require unique IP. So start from 10.0.11 to 10.0.30. Now go to next building, next floor. You have 20 machines. Start from 31 to 50 there. And go to next building. You have 50 machines there. So I start the IP from 10.51 to 10.100 there. So like this, so on, you have to go, you have to assign the IP. So now tell me, as admin, if I'm going to each and every computer, if I'm assigning the IP address, so is easy job? No. Is it centralized management? No. I'm saving the time? No. Right? So this problem. Or maybe by mistake, if I repeat the same IP to other computer in our network, so then the problem we are facing, IP conflict. One. Next, estimate after some time, your boss is coming, your boss is asking to you, sir, you are the admin of this network you have designed. Now on 5th floor, we have one computer. Now tell me, what is that computer IP address? Now tell me, without touching that machine, without going to that machine, exactly, can we give the answer? No. And by sitting on server, can you give the answer? Or can you tell me what that 5th floor, that so-and-so machine IP? No. So we have to go, we have to log in manually as admin to that client machine, to that PC. Then we can check the IP address, we can give the information. So it means as admin, we are not doing easy and centralized management on IP. But by the help of DHCP server, we can do easy and centralized management on IP address. So microservicing, if you have a small network, medium or large, we can take the help of DHCP server to assign the IP address to client computers. Now I have a question here. So estimate, I have one branch in Banjarais, I have one branch in Amirpet, and now I want to assign the IP address to Banjarais branch computers. So how to do it? Manually, we have to go, we have to assign the IP. One. Otherwise, take the help of DHCP server. By the help of DHCP server, we can assign the IP address to our network computers. Local network computers, we can assign the IP, or we can assign the IP address to over the internet. So by using DHCP server in my organization, I have a DHCP server in Amirpet branch. By the help of this DHCP server, we can assign the IP address to other network computers also over the internet. One. Example, one person is asking the question, sir, how to give the IP address to a computer? We know we can go to the computer, we can assign the IP manually. But one person is asking the question, how to assign the IP address to mobile, sir? How to assign the IP address to tablet? How? Can you go to the mobile? Can you give the IP address? No. So we have to give the IP address through DHCP server. So if you want to do easy and centralized management on network computers IP address, we have to take the help of DHCP server. Now where we have to create the DHCP server? I can install the DHCP service in one machine. So DHCP service is available only in server OS. So we require one server OS machine to install the DHCP service. I can install the DHCP service in my DC. If I install the DHCP service in my DC in system 1, so this machine is called DHCP server also. So this machine is called Active Directory server, DNS server, and this machine is called DHCP server. I can assign the IP address to this computer, sir. So I can install the DHCP in my DC. It's called DHCP server also. But if I'm installing multiple services in single server, in single machine, then we have a load balancing problem. We have a load balancing. So that's why the companies are saying, sir, if you want to avoid load balancing problem, so we have to configure DHCP server in separate machine. So how to configure DHCP server in separate computer? So what method, what requirements we need to configure DHCP server in separate computer? So to configure DHCP server in separate machine, so we require one computer, take one computer, and this machine should be connected to network, and this machine should be a part of our domain. So I want to make system 2 is a DHCP server. Okay. So in this machine we require server OS, and this machine should be a part of domain. So it means this machine should be joining domain member server. So to this machine we require static IP. So give the static IP, that is 10.0.0.2, and give the preferred DNS address is our DC IP 10.1, and join this machine to domain. But I want to make this machine as a DHCP server. So DHCP service is available in server OS, but once install OS, this much service will not install. Like last class, we install Active Directory. We install the Active Directory service available in server, but we have to install Active Directory service manually. So then only this is called DC. The same way, to make this machine as a DHCP server, we have to install DHCP service manually here. So once you install DHCP service here in this machine, so this machine is called DHCP server. Now what is the job of DHCP server? The job of the DHCP server assigning automatic IP address to client. And whenever the DHCP server is giving IP address to client, so this IP is called dynamic IP. It's called dynamic IP address, means automatic IP address. Okay. So now do one thing, go to the client machines and remove the static IP. In all clients, if you have static IP, remove the static IP. And whenever we are assigning the IP address, we are selecting use of following IP. But this time what we have to do, we have to select the first option in NAC card, that is called obtain an IP address automatic. So go to all client machine and select obtain an IP address automatic. Okay. So now, so this client has to take the IP from DHCP server, and the DHCP server job is what assigning the IP. So now your DHCP server will assign the IP address to all clients. So now tell me, who is doing my job? So as admin, now I have to go to every machine to assign the IP? No. So all the 1500 computers will take the IP from my DHCP server. My DHCP server assigning the IP to client. So this is called dynamic automatic IP. But here condition is there. The experts are saying first DHCP server will not offer any IP address to clients. First client has to request to DHCP server for IP, then only DHCP server will assign the IP to clients. Now take one example. Assume I have in my network 1500 computers, but right now I don't want IP address in all 1500 machines. I want IP address only in 700 machines, or I want IP address in 1000 machines. I don't want IP address in 1500 machines. But all this 1500 machine is connected to my network, but I want IP address only in selected 1000 machines. So my DHCP server is having any good knowledge in which machine, in which selected 1000 machines we require IP, in which machine we not require IP. No, the DHCP server is not having any good knowledge in which machine we require IP, in which machine we not require IP. Example, I don't know in your mind what question is there. If you ask the question, then only you can give the answer or not here. The same way, the Microsoft is saying DHCP job is what assigning the IP address to client. But first, DHCP server will not offer any IP address to any client. So it means the first DHCP server will not assign any IP address to any client. First, client has to request to server for IP address. First, client has to request to server for IP address. On request, DHCP server will assign the IP address to my client computers. So it means here, the client has to request to DHCP server for IP address. On request, DHCP server will assign the IP. So this is called condition. So the condition is what? First, client has to request to DHCP server for IP, and on request, DHCP server will assign the IP address to clients. But I have a question here. I'm saying first client has to request to server for IP address. But tell me, on system 3, on system 4, any IP address is there? No. On the system 3, system 4 is having any good knowledge on which machine, on which IP your DHCP server is running? No. Or this machine can communicate to DHCP server for IP address? No. But how this computer is going to send the request to DHCP server? If you check like this, the clients are not having any information of DHCP server on which machine, which IP is running, right? And the client is not having IP address, so this client cannot communicate with other machines. So the answer is what? No. The new machines, these machines cannot send the request to DHCP server for IP, because there is no IP address. There is no idea on which machine, which IP DHCP server is running. So if you check like this, answer is no. But the Microsoft is saying answer is yes. Answer is yes. This machine is not having IP. This machine is not having good knowledge on which machine, which IP DHCP server is running. But still this client can request to DHCP server for IP. How? It's possible by the help of NAC cards. It's possible by the help of NIC cards. So when I'm coming to the practical process, I will explain to you by using NIC card how our client machines are going to send the request to DHCP server for IP, and how the DHCP server is assigning the IP address to clients. But here you have to remember, first client has to request to server for IP address, and on request DHCP server will assign the IP address to my network computers. Okay, so this is the condition. So what is the condition? First client has to request to DHCP server for IP address. On request DHCP server will assign the IP address to my network computers. Okay, for one moment, as wait, my system 3 is requesting to DHCP server for IP. So my DHCP server will take the system name, it will take the system 3 NIC card MAC address, and DHCP server will assign the IP address to client. Okay, but the question is what? The DHCP server will assign the IP to client, but how? The DHCP server is having any good knowledge on client machine, which class IP, which network portion IP we require. Okay, I don't want 10 dot class IP address on this client machine. On network, on server, I'm using 10 dot, but on client side, I require, right, 192. I want other class IP. So DHCP server is having any good knowledge on client machine, which class, which network portion IP we require? No. So the client is requesting to server, but the server is not having good knowledge on client machines. We have to assign which class IP, which network portion IP. So then what we have to do? So then microservicing once installed DHCP service is called DHCP server. But as administrator, manually in DHCP server, we have to create one range of IP address. We have to create one range of IP, and this range we have to create manually. So first check on client machine which class, which network portion IP for. So in all 1500 machine, I want direct communication between all machines. So I want same class IP, same network portion. So the range start from 10.0.0.1, and the end IP address is 10.0.0.255. So this is my range, 10.1 to 10.255. Now tell me, by using this 10.1 to 10.255 range, to how many machines we can assign the IP? We can assign the IP address up to 255 machines, not more than 255. But I have more than 255 machines here, right? So then you can increase the range. Can we increase the range? Yes. So maximum, how much we can increase the range? The maximum we can increase up to 10.255.255.254 last, not 255. Okay, so now we have a big range. So now the range is created. So we have DHCP service with range of IP address. So now the client is requesting to DHCP server for dynamic IP, my system 3. So DHCP server is taking the system name, is taking the MAC address, and the DHCP server now will check the range. In the range, which is the first most free IPs available, the DHCP server will assign the IP address to my system 3, to my client computer. So I have a question here. So now tell me, from the range, the DHCP server will assign the IP address to my system 3. But the DHCP server will assign which class, the DHCP server will assign which IP address to client. So in the DHCP server range, which is the first most free IPs available, the DHCP server will assign that IP address to clients. So which IP address? The DHCP server will assign the IP address to clients, to system 3. 10.2 is correct, or 10.1 is correct, or 10.3 is correct. So which IP? The DHCP server will assign the IP address to client, 10.1, 10.2, or 10.3? The answer is what? 10.3. Yeah, that is correct. 10.0.3, not 10.2, not 10.1, because 10.1, 10.2 already is assigned to other machines as a static to my servers. So DHCP server is having a good knowledge from this range, right? How many addresses we already use as a static on our servers, on our clients. So the same IP, the DHCP server will not repeat to the clients. The DHCP server will check in the range, which is the first most free IP address is available. The DHCP server will assign that IP address to clients. So in the range, the 10.0.3 is a free. So the DHCP server is giving IP address to system 3, giving the IP address 10.3, and this information is available in DHCP server database. So as admin, in future, I want to know on system 3 what is the IP address, what is the IP of system 3. So I no need to go to the system 3 machine. I have to go to DHCP server, open the database, and check. Right now, today, the system 3, what is the IP? 10.0.3. Now, after some time, my next machine, example system 5, is requesting to DHCP server for dynamic IP. Okay, so now my DHCP server will assign which IP address to clients. First, DHCP will take the system name, MAC address, then it will give the IP address from the range, which is the first most free IPs available. DHCP server will assign that IP to client. So which IP is free? 10.0.0. What? 4. 10.4 is correct, because in the range, this 10.4 is the first most free IP address. So now Now tell me why DHCP server is not giving the IP address to my system 5, that is 10.5. Why it is giving IP 10.4? Because the system 5 is requesting DHCP server has to assign the IP address 10.5, not 10.4. It's correct? No. Because the DHCP server is not assigning the IP address according to system names. The DHCP server assigning the IP address to network computers on request. Who is requesting next? In the range of which is the first most free IPs available, their DHCP server assigning that IP address to client. Okay, now assume it. Next, my system 7 is requesting to DHCP server for IP. So my DHCP server will take the system name MAC address and it will give the next available IP address in the range, that is 10.0.0.5. So my system 7 is taking the IP from DHCP server 10.5. Okay, and observe here, each and every machine is having unique IP address, right? And there is a no IP config problem, and each and every machine is having sequence IP also. There is a no IP addresses are raised in your network here. Okay, so that's why that the microservicing, if you want to do easy and centralized management on IP address, take the help of DHCP server. But tell me, these IPs are permanent IP address or temporary IP address? This IP, dynamic IP address, are called leased temporary IP, not permanent. Now we'll check what is the leased here. Now example, I'm taking the lease duration 8 days. You can take 10 also, 20 also, right? But I'm taking 8 days here. So now my system 7 is taking the IP from DHCP server. Now day will start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So what the experts are saying, if this machine, now today the system 7 is taking the IP from DHCP server, right? And day will start. And if this machine is running continuously more than 8 days, if this machine is running continuously more than 8 days, the IP will not expire. If the client machine system 7 is running continuously more than 8 days, this IP will not expire. The client can continue the same IP more than 8 days. Okay. Now try to understand this one. Now the system 7 is taking the IP from DHCP server, is called dynamic IP, and one of the user is working on this machine for 4 days. And after 4 days, for a long time, this machine is off. Right? After 4 days, this machine is off for a long time, like 15 day also is crossed, 16 day also is completed. No one is touching, no one is owning this machine, no one is working. Machine is good, but no one is working on this machine. So if this machine is not running more than 8 days, so then microservicing on this machine IP will expire. What is meaning of expire? Expire means automatically this IP removed from this machine, and this IP is available on DHCP server range. Okay. So this is called expire. If this machine is running continuously more than 8 days, IP will not expire. But if this machine is running for some days, and after some days this machine is totally off, no one is touching this machine, right? So automatically this IP will expire. Okay. Now meanwhile, my system 10 is requesting to DHCP server for dynamic IP. Right? Now DHCP server has to assign one dynamic IP to my system 10 or not. So now my question is, what in the DHCP server range, which is the first most free IPs available, the DHCP server will assign that IP address to client. So now tell me, in the range of IP in DHCP server range, which is the first most free IPs available? 10.0.0.6 or 5? 10.5. So the DHCP server assigning 10.0.5, not 6, because now in the DHCP range, the first available IP is 10.5. Okay. So now tell me, this 10.5 is not an IP for my system 7, is an IP for system 10 here. Okay, so now this IP is called dynamic IP, leased IP, temporary IP. But after some time, assume it, my system 7 is on, one of the user is owning the system 7. Maybe after on 18th day, someone is owning this computer. Now the system 7 is requesting to DHCP server for dynamic IP. So my question is, what the DHCP server will assign which IP address to this client, 10.0.5 or 10.0.6? 10.0.0.6. So it means you can see IPs are not permanent, IPs are temporary. Okay. So you can see in the slide here, the microservicing in our network ID, we have two types of IPs. One is called static, address that are manually assigned or do not change over the period of time is called static. And dynamic IPs are assigning by DHCP server. Addresses that are automatically assigned for a specific period of time, it may be changed. So this is called dynamic IP address. Okay. Any doubt? Any question? Now we'll see now how the DHCP server is working. So you can see what use of DHCP server, how it's working here. DHCP server is give IP address automatically to clients who is requesting for IP address. Who is requesting for IP. First client has to request. On request, DHCP server will assign the IP address to client here. Okay. Now second thing is, by the help of DHCP server, we are doing centralized IP address management. We are doing centralized IP address. By sitting on server, we are managing all the machine IP addresses. And DHCP server prevent the IP conflict. So there is no IP conflict problem, because the DHCP server assigning sequence unique IP address to each and every machine is not giving the same IP to other computer. And help converse the use of client IP address on your network. So converse means is not giving the odd IP address to clients, is giving the sequence IP like 10.2, 10.3, 10.4, 10.5 to each and every machine. It's not wasting the IPs in the network here. And DHCP server reduce the complexity and amount of administrator work by assigning TCP/IP configuration automatically to client computers. So DHCP server, right, is assigning the IP address to all client machines. DHCP server is assigning the IP address to client machines. So means the administrator job is easy now. And it's giving automatic IP address. And it's going for TCP/configuration IP. So what is the meaning of TCP/IP? So it means by the help of DHCP server, not only IP address, by the help of DHCP server, we can assign other addresses like subnet masks, default gateway, preferred DNS address to all clients, and alternate DNS address. So not only on the client machine, this many addresses we require. And all these addresses we can assign, we can give by the help of DHCP server. That's what is called TCP/IP configuration. Transmission Control Protocol, Internet Protocol. Okay. So complete IP address management configuration we can do by the help of DHCP server. Okay. But here we have to understand the process here. That is very, very important here. So I'm saying what? So first DHCP client, right? First DHCP server will offer the IP address to client, or client has to request for IP first. First client has to request for IP to DHCP server. On request, DHCP server will assign the IP. But my question is what is the process? How these client machines are going to send the request to DHCP server? Because on client machine there is no IP address, right? There is no information on which machine, which IP or DHCP server is running. So how these clients, new machines, are going to send the request to DHCP server for dynamic IP? So we'll check the process. So whenever you go to the interview, it will ask this question: sir, what is the process between DHCP server and clients? And this process also is called lead generation process between DHCP server and client. So we'll see now what is the lead generation process between DHCP server and client. But before that, we have to check one more thing that is very, very important. That is called authorization of DHCP server. That is called authorization. So Microsoft is saying in our network, DHCP server should be authorized. DHCP server should be authorized. So what is authorized? So which machine is having rights to give the IPs to clients is called authorized DHCP server. So why we require authorized DHCP server? The Microsoft is saying for security reason, in every network we require authorized DHCP server. But how to make authorized DHCP server in our domain model? If I'm installing DHCP service in DC, if I'm installing DHCP service in member server, if I'm installing DHCP server in DC, if I'm installing DHCP service in member server, so then only the DHCP server is called authorized. Now, what is unauthorized? Unauthorized means if I'm taking one workgroup machine and this machine is not a part of my domain, and in workgroup machine if I'm installing DHCP service and I'm serving the IP to clients, that is called unauthorized. It's called unauthorized. So that's why the Microsoft is saying in our domain model, DHCP server should be authorized to assign the IP address to clients here. The reason is what? It is a security precaution that ensure only authorized DHCP server can run in the network to avoid a computer running illegal DHCP server network. So example, if the hackers know your machine, system name, IP address, MAC address, hacker easily can reach to your machine or not here. So that's why that machines, hacker machine is not a part of my domain, but it still is connecting to my network, right? If it is assigning the IP address to my clients, that is called unauthorized DHCP server. But how to make authorized DHCP server, right? How to make authorized DHCP server? When I'm coming to the practical, I will show you how to make our network DHCP server should be authorized. Okay. But how the DHCP server assigning the IP? The DHCP server assigning the IP address by using this range, right? By using range, and technically this range, this complete range, is called scope here. It's called scope. So in DHCP server, we require scope to assign the IP address to client. So what is scope here? The Microservice saying scope is a range of IP address that are available to lease to the client. So if you want to assign the IP address to client machines, right, we require, right, scope. In DHCP server we require scope, and scope automatically is not going to create, we have to create the scope, right? So please copy this one. And scope automatically will not create, we have to create the scope manually. Okay, it's done. Now, so first we need one system as a DHCP server. We have to install DHCP server, then create the scope, and DHCP server will assign. But first, client has to request us. First, client has to request to server for IP, and on request, DHCP server will assign the IP. But how these clients are going to request? We'll check now. What is the process between DHCP server and client? How the client is requesting to server, and how the server is giving the answer. And this complete process is called DHCP lease generation process. DHCP lease generation process, or you can say process between DHCP server and client, right? Just write down the heading. We'll take our own diagram for this to check this process. Don't draw any systems and computers this diagram here. Okay, the heading is what? DHCP lease generation process. Okay, now to understand this process we require two machines here. The first machine, we are making DHCP server. So we have to install DHCP service. This machine is called DHCP server. But remember, always on DHCP server we require a static IP. So I'm giving IP at 10.1, but this machine is service running in DC. So that's why the preferred DNS address is same. But in DHCP server, what we need? So as the admin, we have to create what? Scope. Scope automatically is not going to create, manually we have to create. So I'm giving the scope range from 10.0.0.1, and the end address is 10.0.0.255. Okay, and from this range some addresses already I've used on my server as a static, from 10.1 to 10.10, right? Some addresses already I've used, like 10.1 to my DC, 10.2 to my backup server, 10.3 to my next machine server, like 10.4 to my next machine, next 10.5 to my next server. Okay, but 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 still is free. So I want to use in feature servers whenever I'm making. So from the range from 10.1 to 10.255, right? 10.1 to 10.255. From there, I'm excluding some address, 10.1 to 10.10. Excluding means I'm giving the instruction to my DHCP server, don't distribute this IP dynamically. I will use as a static. So whenever I want, I will use static there. Okay. So exclude range means what? I'm not assigning this IP address through DHCP server to my clients, but I can give manually. So the range is from 10.1 to 10.255, 10.1 to 10.10 excluded. So whenever any client is requesting for IP address, my DHCP server will start the distribution IP address from 10.0.0.11 there. So next available IP address in the range is 10.0.11. Now to check the output, we require one machine, right? And we require one client machine. So I'm taking the system to, I'm saying this is my DHCP client. It's going to take the IP from DHCP server. Now this machine should be connected to network, and this machine should be connected to network with NIC card. Okay. Now to this machine we require IP address. There is no IP. So not anyway. First, who has to request? The DHCP server will assign the IP address to client, or client has to request to DHCP server for IP. First, client has to request to DHCP server for IP. But how the client is going to request? So as administrator, what hard work, what job we have to do to send the request from client to DHCP server? Or try to understand. So macro servicing, first make sure your client machine should be connected to network. Okay, and just go to the client machine, just power on the machine. What you have to do? On, switch on, right? Switch on, right? So once you switch on this machine, this hard work we have to do. Just go to the power on the machine. Now once you power on the client machine, so right now your NEC card is connected to network. This machine NEC card connected to network, but right now on NEC card there is no IP. And NEC cards also is called broadcast device. It's called broadcast device. So what is a broadcast? What is a broadcast request? Broadcast means communication between one to all, one to all. So whenever the NIC card is not having IP address, So automatically your NIC card is generating this request in the network. That request is called broadcast request for IP address. Broadcast request for IP address. So this NIC card is shorting in the network. It's requesting, I need IP. So not only the request will go to how many machines? The request will go to all 1500 machines, right? So not on me, right? Who is requesting first? Client. How the client is requesting? By using NIC card. Once you power on, if your NIC card is not having IP address, automatically your NIC card is generating the broadcast request. Broadcast means one to all. The request will go to all machines, but all machines will give answer no. At the same time, the request is going to DHCP server also, right? The request is going to DHCP server, and this packet is sending by client to DHCP server. So this packet is called DHCP discover packet. DHCP discover. Discover means searching, finding. So blankly, the client is requesting to all computers, I need IP address. So request will go to all machines, but all the machines will drop the packet. So who will give the answer? DHCP server. So the first request is coming from client to server. This is called DHCP discover packet. So when the request reaches to DHCP server, the DHCP server will check the scope. In the scope, which is the first most free IPs available, the DHCP server will offer that IP address to client. So in the range, which is the first most free IP address? 10.0.0.1 or 2 or 11. 10.0.11 is the first most free IP address in the range. So DHCP server will offer that IP address to client. So second request packet is coming from server to client, and this packet is called DHCP offer packet. DHCP offer. Now try to understand here. DHCP server is not assigning the IP, just offering the IP. DHCP server is saying, I have this IP free, sir. 10.0.0.11, whether you require or not, tell me. If you require, request back to me. So it means that in offer packet, DHCP server is not assigning the IP, just is offering the IP, is showing the IP address. Okay. So now the third packet is coming from DHCP client to DHCP server. Now the DHCP client is saying, okay, sir, if this IP is free, give to me. So this packet is called DHCP request packet. So in DHCP request packet, the client is saying, okay, sir, if this IP is free, right? So take my system name, take my machine NIC card, and give this IP address to me. And that IP is 10.0.0.11. Okay. So what the DHCP server will do? It will take the system name, it will take the MAC address, it will feed this information in database. Now once it's feeded, but remember, till now the IP is not assigned. Once the database is feed in DHCP server, now DHCP server has to give the IP to client or not. So the fourth request packet will come from DHCP server to client, and this packet is called DHCP acknowledgement packet. DHCP acknowledgement. So once the DHCP server has given acknowledgement packet to client, so now the successfully IP is assigned to client, that is 10.0.0.11. Right? So successfully IP assigned. So this is called DHCP process between DHCP server and client here. So how many packets are traveling between server to client to get the IP? 4 packets. First, who is generating the request packet? Server or client? Client. How? Right? If the client NIC card is not having IP address, once you power on this client machine, automatically a client machine is generating the request. That is called broadcast request for IP. The request is going from first client to server, is called discover packet. The second request packet is coming from server to client, that is called offer packet. Third request is coming from client to server, is called request, and the fourth request packet is coming from DHCP server, is assigning the IP address to client, that is called acknowledgement. Now once the acknowledgement packet is passed successfully, the client is assigned the IP address to this machine. By this IP, the users can log into this client machine. Yes. By this IP, user can access the network resources, share folders. Yes. So this IP is called temporary IP address or permanent. This IP is a temporary IP, is not a permanent. So that's why it's called dynamic lease right? It's called dynamic DHCP, dynamic lease generation process here. Okay. So in short, if anyone is asking interviews, sir, what is the process between DHCP server and client? How the client is taking IP from DHCP server? So in short, you have to say, sir, this process is called DORA process, DORA process. DORA. But if anyone is asking, sir, I don't know what is DORA process, sir, please explain. So then you have to draw these two computers. Then you have to say D for discover, sir, O for offer, R for request, A for acknowledgement here. Okay. And all these 4 packets are broadcast packet. There is no unicast because the client is not having information of server and server is not having information of clients. But after assigning IP, the next communication between the server and client, that is unicast packet request here. or you can see unicast request. But all these 4 packets are broadcast packet and is used by broadcast request. Okay. So by the help of this diagram, we can explain to our interview person, sir, what is the process between DHCP server and DHCP client. So please copy this one. Okay, done. Now, by the help of DORA process, the client is obtaining one IP address from DHCP server. But this IP is temporary, not permanent. So we have to check what is the lease renewal process between DHCP server and client. So please write down the next heading, DHCP lease renewal process. DHCP lease renewal process. So whenever the word is coming leased, lease means temporary, not permanent. Okay. So please write down one point there. DHCP client obtaining IP address from DHCP server. DHCP client obtaining IP address from DHCP server. DHCP client obtaining IP address from DHCP server. So this IP is called dynamic leased IP address. This IP is called dynamic leased IP. So this IP is not permanent, this IP leased. So example, what is renewal process, lease renewal? Example, I'm taking this building for 1 year lease. I'm doing my business. And after 1 year is completed, then what I have to do? If I want to continue my business, I have to go for lease renewal process. I have to renew my agreement. If I don't want to do business now, I have to leave this place here. Okay? So that's why the microservice is saying this by the help of DORA process, whenever the client is taking IP address from DHCP server. So this IP is called dynamic leased IP address. Okay? So whenever the word is coming leased is a temporary. So please write down the next point. Default lease duration is 8 days. Default lease duration is 8 days. Okay, next point. Maximum lease duration is 999 days. Maximum lease duration is 999 days. 23 hours 59 minutes. Okay, maximum lease duration is 999 days, 999 days, 23 hours 59 minutes. But when the word is coming maximum, the opposite word is minimum. Minimum lease duration is 1 minute. Minimum lease duration is what? 1 minute. So it means default is 8 days, maximum is 999 days, 23 hours 59 minutes, minimum is 1 minute. So it means you can increase or you can decrease these days. Okay. But to understand this lease renewal process, I'm taking default days. You can take 8 days or 10 days or 20 days, no problem. So I'm taking the default one, that is 8 days. Okay. So now, by the help of DORA process, my client is taking the IP from DHCP server. That is good. But what the microservice is saying, what the experts are saying, after completing first time, 50% of this duration. After completing first time, 50% of this duration. Right? So it means what? Completing 50% of this duration means 4 days are completed, remaining 4 days there. So now the client is requesting to server, and this time the client will not take discover packet. The client is having information of server, server is having information of client. Right? So now the client is taking this packet to send the request to DHCP server to renew the days. That is called request packet, and this packet is unicast packet. Because this time the client is having information of server, server is having information of client. Now whenever the request packet is coming, and this request packet is for increasing the name, renewing the days. So what the DHCP server will do, it will check how many days are completed. The DHCP server will add that many days in renewal packet. So the DHCP server is giving acknowledgement package. My DHCP server is working, DHCP server is giving acknowledgement. So in acknowledgement, how many days will increase? How many days are completed? That many days will increase. So how many days are completed? 4 days. So the DHCP server will add 4 days. So again the client is having how many days? 8 days. Like this, so on. Right? So next time, whenever the client is completed 50% of this duration, automatically The client is sending the request packet to DHCP server to increase the days, and DHCP server is giving acknowledgement, and the IP has days are renewed. Again, the client is having 8 days. Okay, like this one, and this is a logical process. We no need to run any command. We no need to run any service here. Okay. Now, so next time, assuming after completing 50% of this duration, my client is requesting to server for renewing the days. If the server is working, the server will give acknowledgement. But this time the server is not working. Server is not working. So if the server is not working, the server will give acknowledgement? No. So it means your request packet is failed. So not only once the request packet is failed, so not only on this client computer IP address will expire. No, the IP will not expire because still the client is having 4 days. The client is having how many days? 4 days. So what the client will do if the first request packet is failed? The client will wait and will generate the next request. The client is waiting and generating the next request. But when? Right? The client is waiting and generating the next request when? After completing 87.5% of days. After completing 87.5% of days. It means what? 7 days are completed. Remaining 1 day is available. It's left. And now the client is requesting, and this time the server is working. Server is giving acknowledgement. So not only in acknowledgement, how many days will add? How many days are completed? That many days will add. So it means 7 days it will add. So again the client is having 8 days. So like this, so on process. So next time, whenever my client is completed 50% of this duration, the client is requesting, server is renewing. If the server is not working, is not renewing, the client is generating the next request after 87.5% of this. And this time if the server is working, server is giving acknowledgement, the IP address, this will be okay. But example, if first time my client is requesting after completing 50% of the duration, server is not working, server is not giving acknowledgement, and the client is waiting for second request, 87.5% of this is completed. The client is generating the second request, and this time also server is not working, server is not giving answer. So my question is, what the third request packet the client will generate or not? No, the client will not generate a third request packet to renew the days. The client will wait to complete 100% of this duration. The client will wait to complete 100% of this duration. So once the 100% of this duration is completed, now this IP, now this client IP address will expire. Right? Now once the IP is expired, right? So now the client is generating again, the client is again starting with this process. Which process here? Doro process. The client is shouting in the network, right? So who is my next DHCP server? Who is my next DHCP server is available to assign the IP address to client here. So it means after completing 100% of this duration, the client machine IP will expire. Again, the client will start Doro process, searching, finding who is my next DHCP server is available to assign the IP address to client. And this process is called DHCP least renewable process here. Okay, any question? No? Okay, so till now we have discussed three things. What is DHCP server? What is the job of DHCP server? What is least renewal process? Right, between the server and client, and what is the process between DHCP server and client, and then we seen what is the least renewal process here. Okay, so till now we have seen the theory. Now we'll come to the practical here. How to configure the DHCP server and how to assign the IP address. Okay, just please 1 minute. Now we'll see the practical for today's session. For this practical, we require 2 machines at least, or if we have 3 machines, you can make one system as a DC, second machine as a DHCP server, and you can check the output in third machine. But right now I'm not having more than 2 PCs, so I will install the DHCP service in DC with Active Directory. Right, it's called DHCP server. Then in second machine I will check the output here. Okay, fine. But remember here, if anyone is asking to you in interview, sir, how to configure DHCP server in DC, how to configure DHCP server separately in member server, so give the answer. The method and procedure is same there. Okay, so we'll see now how to configure the DHCP server. So I want to make this machine as a DHCP server. First, you have to check this machine is a part of our domain or not. So first we have to log in as a. So write on the first lab heading, installing DHCP server service. Installing DHCP server service. Before making this machine DHCP server, before installing, we have to check the requirements here. So this machine should be a part of a domain. On this machine, we require static IP. So if I right click on network computer icon, go to the properties, and you can see here this machine is my system one. I have a server OS and is working on domain of zoom.com. And check the IP address on this computer. So if I right click on network icon, if I go to properties here, if I go to change adapter settings, right click on your Ethernet, click on properties, select the IPv4 and properties, and you can see when I'm using this option, use the following IP. So I'm using static IP. So my DHCP server IP address is 10.0.0.1. Okay. Now I want to make this machine as a DHCP server, so we have to install DHCP service. So to add the service, to remove the services, we are using server manager console. So from today onwards, whenever I say, sir, in 2012 servers, add the services, remove the services, so we have to take the help of server manager to add, to remove, to confirm. Okay. So write down the steps. In system one server, DC or member server. In system one server, DC or member server, login as administrator. Okay. Then write down, open the server manager console. And you can see dashboard area. Are you finding in DHCP? No, it's not available. So open the server manager console and click on add roles and features. Click on add roles and features and click 3 times. Next, next, next. So click on next. One more time, next. Right, and it's giving the information you're setting on system one IP standard one. Click on next. Now once you click next, we are in roles. Roles means services. So today which role we require? We have to check that box. Today we require DHCP server. So check the box DHCP server. So check the box DHCP server and click on add features. Now once you click add features, after that nothing is there, write down 3 times. Next, 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 install and close. 3 times. Next, 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 install and close. So click next. One more time next. One more time next. Click on install. Now once you click install, your installation is started, and after that close. But remember one thing, after the DHCP service is added, we have to check whether the service properly is running or not. And we have to check this flag symbol also. So on server manager console, on flag, on notification, if I have any yellow color warning symbol, triangles, so it means we have to go for post deployment configuration. But on flag, if there is a no, right, if there is a no warning symbol, right, so directly we can use the service. But on flag, if I'm having warning symbol, so then we have to go for post deployment configuration. So it will take some time. We have to wait here. Maybe at least 1 or 2 minutes it will take to complete the service. So after the service is done, we have to go for post deployment configuration. Then only the service is successfully complete. Now you can observe here is giving the message installation succeeded on system on zoom.com domain, but before this one is written configuration still is required. So we have to close this window. Then you can see in dashboard area DHCP service added, but check the on server manager console flag. Are you finding warning symbol? Yes. Now we have to go to the post deployment configuration. If I go for this post deployment configuration, then only is called authorized DHCP server. So please write down the next steps. Continue. In server manager console, click on flag. In server manager console, click on flag and click on complete DHCP configuration. click on flag and click on complete DHCP configuration. Now once you click complete DHCP configuration, a new page is open. We have to continue. So click on next. Now once you click next, right? Once you click next here, now then write down, click on commit and click on close. Click on commit and click on close. And you can see it. Are you finding a domain administrator name? Now if I go to the commit, then only this DHCP server is called authorized DHCP server. Okay. So click on commit and click on close. Your job has done. So now this DHCP server is called authorized. And if you go to the tools now, you can find DHCP service. Right? So you can open from here, or you can go to the start. So you can see on the screen, are you finding DHCP? Yes, you can open from here. So till now, what we have done, we have configured the DHCP server. But once you create the DHCP server, once you start DHCP, this is called DHCP server. But tell me, automatically the scope will create, or we have to create the scope? Automatically the scope will not create. As administrator, we have to create the scope. So please write down our next tab. Creating scope. Creating scope. So write down the point. First point, in system 1 DHCP server, login as administrator. In system 1 DHCP server, login as a administrator. Okay. Then write down, open the DHCP service. Open the DHCP service. So I'm going now. So right now I'm sitting on DHCP server. I have to log in as admin. I log. So open this, put the start. Right, so you can find DHCP. Open the DHCP. Now once you open the DHCP service, so you can see this service is running in system 1 in which domain underzoom.com. So I have to maximize, and you can see here we have to expand the system name. So write down expand the system name SYS1. So once you expand the system name SYS1, and you have two options here, IPv4 and IPv6. So we are going for IPv4 because in all machines we are using IPv4. So expand the IPv4. So it means by the help of DHCP server, I can assign the IPv4 IP address to find the IPv6 also. So expand the IPv4. So once you expand the IPv4, so not only in IPv4, are you finding any scope? No. We have to add the scope here. And how to add the scope? So we have to right click on IPv4 and click on new scope. So write down the next line, right click on IPv4 and click on new scope. So once you click new scope here, the new page will open. And this page is a welcome page. Right? So we have to click on next. Now once you click next, is asking the scope name. You can give any name, it will accept. I'm giving the scope name scope 1. So write down scope name scope 1 and click next. Now once you click next here, in next page is asking IP address range, start IP address and end IP address. These two IPs you have to do. And this length and subnet part, it will take automatically. So if I give the start IP address 10.0.0.1, okay, and length and subnet marks will take. So what is the subnet marks? This is a 10 dot is a class A address. Subnet marks is 255.0.0.0, right? And length means in class A how many network portion we have? One network portion, and one network portion is having how many bits? It's a 8-bit network portion. So here length is 8. So you can see here once you click, and if you're confused, if you don't know exactly, so don't type manually, just click in the end box. End IP address. Once you click end IP address, it will take automatically length and IP subnet marks also. So you can see here, once I click end IP address, it's taken length and subnet marks. That is correct. So end IP address, I want to give 10.0.0.215. Fine. Okay, is it? Now click next. So once you click next here, it's asking the next one, add exclude address, exclusions and delays. So it's asking excluded IP address. So I want to keep some IP with me. I don't want to distribute this IP to DHCP server. So I can give one IP, I can give the range. So I'm giving the range. So write down excluded address range. Excluded address range. Then write down start IP address 10.0.1 and end IP address 10.0.0.10. Start IP from 10.1 to 10.10 and click on add and click on next. Click on add and click next. So once you click add, so the range is added from 1 to 10 and the DHCP or next computer will take the IP from 10.0.0. Okay. Okay, so click on next. Now once you click next, it's showing lease duration. So by default lease duration is 8 days, but if you like you can increase or you can decrease. So click next. Right, now it's asking DHCP config, DHCP option. So next page is asking DHCP configuration, DHCP server. We have two options, yes or no. So I will start with no. If I say no, so my DHCP server is responsible only for assigning IP address and subnet mask, only for IP and subnet mask, and my DHCP server will not assign any other addresses to clients. Like on client machine, we require default gateway address. We require for DNS, we require alternate. So if I say no, only my DHCP server will assign the IP only, not other addresses. If not other addresses, then how to assign these addresses? Then as I said, manually you have to go to every machine you have to assign. So not only easy job, no. So then if I select yes in DHCP server, yes, I want to configure the scope option. If I select yes, so whenever my DHCP server assigning the IP address with IP, my DHCP server will give the default gateway also to my clients, prefer address also, and alternate address also, right? So the complete IP address configuration we can do by the help of DHCP server. So which is the best option? Yes is best or no is best? Yes is best. So I'm selecting yes, click next. So once you click next, in the next page is asking, sir, what is your router, sir? And the router IP will become default gateway address to client. Remember here, the router IP will become default gateway address to client. On my router, I have two addresses. One is private, one is public. By private IP address, so your router network private IP. On router we have two IPs, private and public. So private IP of router will become default gateway of clients. So my router private IP is 10.0.0.254 example. 10.0.254. If I add this address, so the DHCP server will assign the IP, and this IP will become default gateway for all clients. So all clients default gateway address is 10.0.0.254. Okay. But if you have router, add it. Otherwise, you can leave blank also. So click next. Now once I click next, the next page is asking domain name and DNS server. So we have to type the domain name zoom.com, and the DNS server IP address is 10.0.1. Okay. So if you have alternate DNS address, if you want to give one more address, and click on add, is accepted. So the IP address is 10.1. So we are not having any alternate address here. I'm doing only preferred, so click next. And after that, we are not having Win server. Win server means NT server. If you have NT server, in NT we are using Win service. So if you have NT server, give the NT server system name, server name, and IP address. So your DHCP server will share this information also with your client, on which machine, which IP your NT server will run. So click next and say yes, I want to activate the scope now. Click on finish. Now once you click finish here, so you can see now scope is successfully created, right? But observe here on IPv4 on scope, are you finding one blue color symbol? So this blue color symbol is indicating the scope is created, right? But is not ready to give answer. So we have to remove this blue symbol. How to remove? By refreshing IPv4. Just you have to right click on IPv4 and click on refresh. Right? So 2-3 times if you refresh, it will remove this blue icon. Once I refresh, now this blue symbol is removed from scope from IPv4, and we have a green color symbol. So it means scope is created successfully, ready to give answer. But before going verification, check the scope because if you expand the IPv4, expand the scope. If you go to address pool, you can see in address pool the range from 10.1 to 10.255, 10.1 to 10 excluded. And if I go to the scope option, by the help of scope option with IP, we are sharing this information with my clients. Domain name, DNS server means preferred DNS, router means default gateway address. And if any client is taking IP from DHCP server, that is going to store here in address list the client IP address, client system name, expire date, unique address is MAC address. Now tell me, are you finding any entry till now here? No, because till now the client is not requested DHCP server. So now, next what we have to do? We have to go to verification. Now we have to go to the system to client machine, log in as administrator, and take the dynamic IP from your DHCP server. That is verification. Now we have to go for verification in client machine. So first what you have to do, go to the client machine, login as admin, and remove the static IP if you have, right? Then take the dynamic IP from DHCP server. Okay. So write down verification in system to client computer. So I'm going to system to now. Login as administrator. So you can see here, this is my system 2. I can use any operating system in this machine, no problem there. In system to client machine, login as administrator. The right on the first point, remove the static IP address. First remove the static IP address. And select obtain an IP address automatically. Select obtain an IP address automatically. And select obtain DNS server address automatically. And select obtain DNS server address automatically. Click on OK and click on close. Okay, done. So see here. So right click on network icon, click on properties, click on change adapter settings. Right click on Ethernet, click on properties, select IPv4, click on properties, and you can see here, if I select this one, use the following IP is called static. I have to select first one, obtain an IP address automatically, and obtain DNS server address automatically. Click OK, click on close. And if you don't want to do anything, just wait for 30 seconds. It will request to server, it will take the IP address automatically. But I want to know through command how to send the request to DHCP server to get one dynamic IP address. Okay, so please write down. Next point. Open in system to client computer. Open the command prompt and write down these two commands. The first one is, you can write in capital letters, small letters, no problem. ipconfig /release. Enter. Then next command, ipconfig /renew. Enter. Here ipconfig /release means refreshing the NEC card. ipconfig /renew means requesting for dynamic IP address. Then write down next line, check the dynamic IP address 10.0.0.11. Check the dynamic IP address 10.0.11. So now I'm going to the client machine, open the command prompt and type the command ipconfig /release. Enter. Means refreshing. Then type ipconfig /renew. Enter. Now see here, my DHCP server has signed the IP. And what is the IP address? This IP is coming from Zoom domain. IP is 10.0.11. Default gateway is 10.0.254. But if you want to know more details, you can type here ipconfig /all. So you can see here, this IP assigned from zoom.com DHCP server. This is a physical address, means MAC address, and DHCP server is automatic IP. And IP is 10.11. This is obtained, this is expanded, this is a default gateway, this is a DHCP server address, right? And this is my DNS server is 10.1. Okay, or you can check like this also. Right click on Ethernet, go to the status, don't go to properties, go to the status, go to the details, and you can see this IP from Zoom domain, dynamic IP is 10.11. But this information is available in DHCP server also. So go to the DHCP server, open the address list, just refresh. Are you finding? Yeah, system 2 is taking the IP from DHCP server 10.0.11. This is expanded, this is a unique MAC address ID. Okay. Any question, any doubt? So till now we have seen how to configure DHCP server, how to create the scope, and how to lease one IP address, how to take one IP from DHCP server. Now come to the next topic, write down the heading, DHCP reservation. Our next topic is DHCP reservation. So tell me, what is a reservation? You can see in the list we have reservation option. Reservation, what is reservation? Reservation is fixed, right? Reservation fixed. So example, I want to go to from Hyderabad to Bangalore. I'm taking the A ticket, right? But at the end moment, I'm not going, or maybe I'm going. So that seat is reserved only for me. The same thing, the DHCP server is assigning the dynamic IP address to client, but this IP is not permanent. This IP is temporary IP. This IP is temporary IP. Over the period of time, not tell me, maybe this IP will change or not. Yes, this IP is going to change. But one day my boss is coming and saying, sir, we want to assign the IP address to system 2, right? We want to assign one dynamic IP to system 2, but over the period of time, this IP should not change. If this machine is off for a long time also, for 1 month, whenever this machine is requesting to server, server has to assign the same IP address. So I can reserve the same IP or can reserve the different IP. I'm reserving the different IP. But whenever we are going for reservation, the system name will not work. We have to use MAC address. We have to use NSCCAT MAC address. By using MAC address, we can reserve an IP. So I want to reserve an IP 10.0.0.51. Okay, 10.51. So whenever in future my system 2 is requesting to DHCP server for dynamic IP, so my DHCP server will assign this IP address 10.0.0.51. Okay. So we'll see now how to configure the reservation here. This is called DHCP reservation. So write down the heading, next tab, DHCP reservation. Then write down in system 1 server, in system 1 DHCP server, in system 1 DHCP server, login as administrator. In system 1 DHCP server, login as administrator. The next point, write down open the DHCP service. Open the DHCP service. So you can see I'm sitting on system 1. I open the DHCP service. Then write down expand the IPv4, expand the scope, expand the IPv4, expand the scope. Now in the scope we have reservations. Okay. So write down, right click on reservations and click on new reservation. Right now there is no reservation. Right click on reservations and click on new reservation. Now once you click this new reservation, one new page will open. And in this page is asking reservation name. Reservation name you can give any name. XYZ it will accept, but I'm giving the system name. But don't think that if I give the system name, it is going to accept the system name. No, we are not reserving the IP by system name, just is a display name. Okay. Then IP address. IP address is 10.0.0.51. Okay. Then write down MAC address. But MAC address, which MAC address? Client MAC address, system 2 NSCCAT MAC address. How to know system 2 MAC address? So go to the system 2 and you can see this is a system 2 MAC address 00AC. Or you can check the MAC address through command also. So you can open the command prompt and you can type get MAC. If I type get MAC, so this is my system 2 NSCCAT MAC address. So you have to note down, you have to come to the DHCP server and write down this NSCCAT MAC address. So now tell me, I'm sitting on which machine? I'm sitting on system 1. If I open the command prompt, if I type here get MAC, so it is going to show you which machine NSCCAT MAC address. Once I press enter, it is showing my system 1 NSCCAT MAC address, not showing system 2 NSCCAT. Okay. But if I want to know system 2 or other machine NSCCAT MAC address by sitting on system 1, right? So we have to type this command, get MAC space /s space that machine name system 2, enter. But sometimes this command will not work. If this command is not working, you can use the next command. So this command is used for to check the MAC address by using system name. But you can see I'm getting error here, RPC server is unavailable. So if I'm getting this error, use the next command, ARP space -a. But by using this command, I can check the MAC address according to IP address. By using IP, we can check MAC address. So you can see here, ARP space -a. So what is the IP of that machine today? Now 10.11, and this is the MAC address. Okay, so we have to copy the MAC address. How to copy? Right click, mark, select the MAC address, right click for copy. Now close this window. Now right click and paste. Or you can type the MAC address manually also. It's not compulsory, you have to write a copy paste, you have to write manually also, without these dashes also. Then description is not compulsory, and support option is both. If I'm using any operating system, it should be support. Not only NT, not only Windows 98, XP also, Vista also, latest one also. Okay, so I'm selecting both, click on add, click on close. Once you close, then only you can see the reservation. Done. Right? But before going verification, tell me on one MAC address, how many IP address we can reserve? On one MAC address, only one MAC IP address we can reserve. We cannot reserve multiple. Okay. Now write down verification. In system to client computer, login as administrator. open the command prompt and write down our two commands. The first one is ipconfig /release enter. Right? Open the command prompt and type ipconfig /release. The next command ipconfig /rename enter. Write down check the DHCP reservation IP address. Check the DHCP reservation IP address 10.0.0. what 10.0.51. Now if this machine is off, you can see here it's taken IP address from DHCP server 10.0.51. But if this machine is off for a long time, for 1 month, and again this machine is owning and is requesting for IP to DHCP server, so DHCP server will serve which IP address? Same IP 10.0.51. So this is called DHCP reservation. Okay. Now come to one small topic, right? How to take the backup of the scope. If the scope is lost, then again we have to create the new scope here. But without creating the new scope, the microservice you can take the backup of the scope, we can restore in single shot. We can take the backup in single shot, we can restore. So we'll see the next step. How to create the scope here. How to create the scope. Sorry, how to create the backup. How to take the backup scope. So the next topic, write on the heading, DHCP scope backup. DHCP scope backup. Okay. Now when you're taking the scope backup, right? When you're taking the scope backup, it's asking where you want to store. So by default, your scope is going to store in C drive, but I don't want to store in C drive. I want to store in E drive here. Okay. I will change the location E drive. So write down the steps. Open the DHCP service. Right click on system name SYS1 and click on backup. And here you can find two options: backup and recover, backup and restore. So click on backup. So once you click backup, it's asking the location. By default is C drive. I don't want this location. So go up, minimize, expand the E drive, and make one folder. Create a folder. Make a new folder and give the name, any name. So I'm giving the name here DHCP backup, and click OK. Now once you click OK, your backup is done. But how to confirm? So open the computer, open the E drive, and you can see here one DHCP backup folder is created. And if you open this folder, these are the files. Done. Now, then write down next line, DHCP scope restore. DHCP scope restore. But before restoring, first you have to delete the original scope or not. So write down, open the DHCP service and delete the complete scope. Delete the complete scope. So we have to delete manually. Okay. So right click on scope and click on delete and say yes. Now once you delete, say yes, yes. Now scope is lost. Now the scope is lost. So can we restore? Yes, we have a backup copy. We can restore. So write down next lab. What is that? Already written that one, DHCP scope restore. Okay. So write down, open the DHCP service. Open the DHCP service. Right click on system name SYS1 and click on restore. Right click on system name SYS1. Click on restore. So once you click restore, it's asking where is the backup folder, DHCP backup folder. So minimize the C drive, expand the E drive, select DHCP backup folder, and click OK. Now once you click OK, it's asking to restart the service. So we have to restart. So once you click OK, it's asking in order to change these effects, the service must be stop and restart it. Say yes. Now the service restarted. So write down, click on yes and click on OK. Now it's giving the message, your database is successfully updated. We have to click OK. Now see your database was successfully restored. Click on OK. So once you click OK, your job is done. Just refresh the IPv4. Write down next line. Open the DHCP service, expand the IPv4. Open the DHCP service, expand the IPv4, and check the complete scope. So I'm not saying create the scope, right? Check the scope here. Okay. So expand the IPv4, and you can see, are you finding the same scope with the same name? Yes. Now check the details in address pool. You can find same address pool 10.1 to 10.255, 10.1 to 10.1 excluded, and same reservation also is there. Same scope option is available. So the complete scope is back there. So this is called taking the backup of the scope and restoring the scope here. Okay. Now the next is what? In 2012 server operating system. In 2012 server operating system, the microservice added one new service, a new feature. And this feature is not available in previous server operating system. Now what is this? So the next topic, next lab is what? DHCP failover. So this DHCP failover is a new service in 2012 server operating system, and this service is not available in previous server operating system. But what is the use of this DHCP failover? By using this DHCP failover service, I can make one backup DHCP server. I can make one backup DHCP server. So if you want to make one backup DHCP server, we require DHCP failover service. Now what is backup DHCP server? Why we require? Because if the primaries fail, so backup will give the answer or not. Like last class we discussed, our DC backup server is ADC. If the DC is failed, your backup server ADC will give authentication. If the DC is busy, your backup server will avoid the load balancing problem. The same way, the microservicing in your network, example, in your network you have only one DHCP server. So example, in your network, if you have only one DHCP server, so you're making system 1 is a DHCP server with scope. Scope also is there. And the scope ranges from 10.0.0.1 to 10.0.0.255. Okay? And this DHCP server is running on 10.0.1. And this DHCP server is called primary DHCP server and is serving the IP address, dynamic IP address to clients. All the clients are taking the IP address from my system 1, 10.1 primary DHCP server. Right? But in future, suddenly this primary DHCP server is failed, crashed, then what? So this client IPs, the client can use this IP for a long time? No. So after some time, this machine IP will expire, and this users cannot log into this machine. User cannot communicate with other machine by using this IP. This IP expire. So then what we have to do? Again, as administrator, we have to create the new DHCP server, new scope, then the network connectivity will establish. So it's going to take a lot of time there. Right? So then microservicing to avoid the failover, load balancer. So then we have to take the help of backup DHCP server. So how to configure backup DHCP server? To configure backup DHCP server, we require one separate machine. So we are taking system 2, and this machine should be a part of our domain. In this machine, we require a static IP. So I'm giving 10.0.0.2, and this machine is member server. And in this machine, you have to install DHCP service to make DHCP server. But I want this server should be a backup DHCP server. Okay. So in this machine, we no need to create the scope here. So the scope will replicate from primary to backup. The scope will replicate from primary to backup here. Okay. And to make backup DHCP server, we have to run this service, DHCP failover service. But when I'm running DHCP failover service, we have two options. Actually, that option is their mode. In mode, we have two options. Any one we have to select. The first option we have load balance. First option is what? Load balance. In load balance, the primary server will give the IP address to 50% of the computers. The primary server will give the IP to 50% of the computer, and this information also is available in backup DHCP server. Okay, and next 50% of the computers will take the IP address from my backup DHCP server, and this information also is available in backup DHCP server. So this is called load balancing, 50-50. But if you want, you can change the percentage. I want primary server has to take care 70%, and backup server has to assign the IP address to 30% clients. You can change the percentage. So this is called load balancing. And next option we have hot standby. Now in hot standby, your primary server, if I select the hot standby, so my primary server will give the IP address to all computers. Means all 100% of the computer will take the IP from primary server. And this time my backup server is on standby, sir. My backup server is on standby. So in hot standby, my primary server will give the IP to all clients. And this information also is available in backup server, in backup DHCP server. And this time my backup DHCP server is on standby. So in future, if the primary server is failed, so now my backup server will up, and the backup server will serve the IP address to my clients. So this is called hot standby here. Okay. So in load balancing, First 50% of the computer will take the IP from primary server. Next 50% of the computer is taking IP from backup DHCP server. Whenever the primary server is giving IP to client, this information is available in backup server. And whenever the backup server is giving the IP address to client, this information also is available in primary server. Okay. In hot standby, my primary server giving the IP address to all clients, and backup server is on standby. In future, if the primary server is failed, then backup server will give the IP address to clients. Now, one more thing you have to understand. Here, we are saying primary server, we are saying backup server. But the microservice is saying your primary server is called local server. Your primary server is called local server. And your backup server is called partner server. The backup server is called partner, and your primary server is called local server. So we'll see the last practical today, that is called DHCP failover. So please write down the last lab heading, DHCP failover. So our next lab is what? DHCP failover. So for this practical, we require two machines, system one primary, system two backup. But in system two, this machine should be a member server, part of domain, and in this machine we require a static IP. Okay, not dynamic. So write down the step. In system one primary DHCP server, in system one primary DHCP server, create the scope. In system one primary DHCP server, create the scope. Range from 10.0.1 to 10.0.0.255. And already we know how to configure the DHCP service, how to promote, and how to create the scope here. Okay. Scope range from 10.0.1 to 10.0.255. So you can see here, I'm going to my system one primary DHCP server. I already installed the DHCP service, and in that, in IPv4, we have a scope and the range from 10.1 to 10.255. Okay, this is my primary DHCP server, which is running in system 1 10.1. Now I'm making the system 2 as a backup DHCP server. So please write down in system 2 computer, log in as a domain administrator. So in system 2 server, we have to log in as domain admin. So we have to sign out. In system 2 member server, we have to log in as a domain administrator. How to log in? If I'm logging system 2 /admin, it's called local admin. I have to log in as domain admin. So we have to go to other. We have to type administrator. @domain-name.com. Password is so_123. So it means I'm logging as a domain administrator in system 2 machine, and I want to make this machine as a backup DHCP server. Okay. So you can see here, in this machine I have server 2.12 operating system, and this machine is working on the domain of zoom.com. Then write down next line, open the server manager console. Click on add roles and features. Because I want to make DHCP server, I have to add the DHCP service in this machine. So open the server manager console, click on add roles and features. Then write down click next. One more time next, 3 times next. Then one more time next. And if you are in roles, check the box DHCP server. Check the box DHCP server. Click on add features. Then after that, write down click 3 times next, install and close. Click next. One more time next. Click next and click on install. And after installation is done, we have to close. But remember here, after the installation is done, I say that we have to go for post deployment configuration. Then on is called DHCP server. But this time, right, the microservice is saying if you want to make backup DHCP server, don't go to flag and don't click on promote this computer to DHCP server. Don't go for complete DHCP configuration. So the microservice is recommending don't go for post deployment configuration. So please write down warning there. In system 2 server manager console. In system 2 server manager console. In flag. In system 2 server manager console, in flag, don't click on complete DHCP configuration. Don't click on complete DHCP configuration. So this is a warning. So remember here, if you click this option, complete DHCP configuration is called primary DHCP server. I want to make backup, so that's why in flag don't click this option, complete DHCP configuration. So we have to wait to complete this service. Now after the service is completed, we have to close this window. Now you can see here, giving the message configuration is required, installation is succeeded on system 2, close. And now don't go to the flag and don't click this option, complete DHCP configuration. Wait. Now we have to come back to our primary DHCP server to run this process that is called DHCP failover. Okay, so please write down next line. In system 1 primary server, in system 1 primary DHCP server, in system 1 primary DHCP server, open the DHCP service. In system 1 primary DHCP server, open the DHCP service. So right now I'm in system 1 primary DHCP server, or open the DHCP service. Okay, then right down, right click on IPv4, right click on IPv4 and click on configure failover. Right click on IPv4 and click on configure failover. Now once you click configure failover, one new page will open. This is the welcome page, introduction page. We have to click on next. So click next. So once I click next, it's asking here partner server name. So your primary server is called local server, your backup is called partner. So it's asking the backup server computer name. So we have to type partner server name. So write down partner server name dash sys2. We can use IP also, but system name is best here. So type this partner server name sys2. And if this option is available, you have to uncheck. That option is what? Reuse existing failover. So if you're doing this practical second time, this option is available for you, you have to uncheck this box. Okay. Otherwise, you will get existing configuration settings, but I want new settings. So we have to uncheck reuse existing failover if this option is available for you. So after partner server name, system 2, click next. And you can see we are creating a new failover relationship between system 1 and system 2. And by default mode is what? Load balancing. Local server means primary server 50%, backup server is partner server 50%. But we can change the mode to hot standby also. If I select hot standby, so you can see the role of the partner server is on standby. So my primary server will give the answer to all clients, but my backup server is on standby. So you can select any one option, load balancing or hot standby. I'm going for default load balancing. Now next you can see we have to go to the next option, but next option is not there because we have to give the shared secret. Shared secret means it's not a password, it's a key to enable this page, to enable this feature. So remember, it's not a password and it's not going to use anywhere. Okay, so please write down shared secret. You can give anything, any number or word or alphabet. I'm giving here shared secret 1234, shared secret 1234. Click next and click on finish. And you can see all the process successfully is done. Click on close. The job is done. Then write down verification. So write down in system 2 backup DHCP server. In system 2 backup DHCP server, open the server manager console. In system 2 backup DHCP server, open the server manager console. Click on flag and click on complete DHCP configuration. Click on flag and click on complete DHCP configuration. Click on flag and click on complete DHCP configuration. Then write down, click on next. It is showing your domain admin name. Click on next and click on commit. Click on next, click on commit and close. Once you close, your job is done. Right? Then write down next point. In system 2 backup DHCP server, open the DHCP service. In system 2 backup DHCP server, open the DHCP service. Open the DHCP service. Write down expand the system name sys2. This service is running system 2. expand the system name SYS2. Okay. Then expand the IPv4. Expand the system name SYS2. Expand the IPv4 and check the complete scope. You can see here. This service running system 2. Once you expand the IPv4, once you expand the scope, if you go to address pool, can you find the same scope or not? If you go to the reservation, are you finding same reservation? Yes, it's done. Okay, so complete scope. So if in future, if the primary DHCP server is failed, so then your backup DHCP server will serve the IP address to client. So this is called DHCP failover configuration. Okay. So today we are wind upping our class here. Today you have to do the practical how to configure DHCP server. So in the lab you require 2 machines. First we have to configure DHCP server, create the scope and check the verification. Then reservation you have to check. You have to check the scope backup, scope restore. Then you have to go for last one, DHCP failover. Okay. So for this lab we require 2 machines. In system 2 we require static IP, we require DHCP server. So any question, any doubt? And tomorrow, next day, right? Tomorrow is very important class, and next topic we are discussing DNS. Next topic is DNS. Without DNS, we cannot become best and perfect administrator. Okay. So today we are winding up our class here. Thank you very much. Bye. See you tomorrow.